Matt Aguilar from comicbook.com, and welcome to Comic Book Tabletop. For this edition, we're actually diving into CMON and Spin Master Games' newest game in the Marvel United series, Marvel United X-Men. And as you can tell from the name, it is a pseudo-sequel to the original Marvel United that brings all the X-Men into focus. And there are a ton of expansions, a ton of new characters, and new mechanics, as well as part of the Kickstarter campaign. The Kickstarter campaign is still going on right now for at least another day or two. So if you do want to check out the campaign, you can check out all the details on the official website. You can also check out all of our coverage on the game right here on comicbook.com. But today we actually have a pretty cool surprise because we get to feature the prototype version of the game, and we're going to walk you through a turn, how some of the new mechanics work, and you can actually see some of the sweet minis in action as well. Now, it is a prototype version, which means we don't have all of the minis yet. We're actually going to be playing against Mystique as the villain, and because there is no Mystique miniature yet, Magneto's in there because one, we wanted to show off the Magneto miniature, but also, hey, Mystique can shapeshift, so it's fine. So we're gonna walk you through a turn, go through it, give you a little taste of what is to come, and if it piques your interest, you can check it out on Kickstarter right now. So without further ado, let's get started. All right, so let's get started. So this is kind of my custom setup of Marvel United X-Men. So the standard setup is gonna be a little different, especially if you have the playmat, but this, for the space I have, is what works. So we're going to go with this. So we are going to be battling Mystique, who is one of several villains that is available in the game. What's cool about Marvel United X-Men is that you can actually have anti-heroes for a lot of villains, because for those who've read the comics, the X-Men never stay on the good or bad side for very long. They just kind of bounce in between. So characters like Magneto and Mystique and others, Emma Frost is one of the stretch goals that got unlocked, and she will be an anti-hero as well. They both have master plan decks and full villain setups, as well as hero setups, so you can actually play them either way, which is really freaking cool and was not available in the first Marvel United, and there are several characters that would work that way. So for this though, we are going to go with Mystique as our villain. What's great is that this is a prototype from CMON and Spin Master Games, so it doesn't have all of the minis and things like that yet. So Magneto is actually going to sub in for our Mystique. And you know, it's kind of fitting. Mystique shapeshifts, so she's Magneto today. Yay! So she's gonna be our villain here. As you see, he is purple. The villains, straight up villain miniatures, are red, and then the heroes are blue. Purples can be played either way. So that's gonna be Mystique. The big thing about Mystique is that her campaign, you'll see this little token here, that is Senator Robert Kelly. She is trying to get him and take him down. That is the core of her mission. So our job is to protect him. When he's on a space with heroes, he can move with heroes. They can take any damage that is directed towards him. If he takes any damage, he does. So you're trying to protect him at all costs. And you'll see a lot of the henchmen that are around the board their effects are, hey, we're going to do some damage, but mostly we're going to move Senator Kelly away from you towards Mystique so that she can do damage to him. The thing about Marvel United X-Men is, like its predecessor, you cannot damage the villain directly. So that means Mystique. You can take out the henchmen and the other small villains like Toad and Avalanche and things like that at your leisure. But you cannot take on Mystique until you complete two of these three missions. So after you complete one mission, it doesn't matter which ones, you can do them in any order. But after you complete one mission, they will go into what's called under pressure, and they will be able to act quicker. Instead of every 3 hero cards and then you do another villain card, you will do it after 2. So they increase their pace. Once you complete 2 of these missions, you can then do damage directly to Mystique. So that is how you're kind of trying to work together to, not only in Mystique's case, it actually ups the challenge factor, because not only are you trying to protect Robert Kelly and kind of keep him from getting close to her, you're also trying to work together to take down these missions, which can be solved by saving civilians, defeating henchmen, doing heroic actions, where we kind of get into over here for certain threats. And then you can take her on, and then you're just trying to deal damage. So there's a couple of factors to the way this game plays out. So we're just going to take you through a sample turn, show you how gameplay works, and go from there, just to give you an idea. So first things first, we're going to activate Mystique. And as you'll see here, I'm going to put it right here. I think I can get it in camera view. Perfect. Okay, so this is a typical Master Plan deck villain card, okay? So we're gonna go one by one, and we're gonna go from top to bottom. So this has Mystique moving one place. So we're gonna go clockwise, booyah, we move. Then we're gonna activate a BAM effect, which you'll see around the board. Most of these threat cards that are people, that are characters, have BAM effects. You will activate Mystique's BAM effect first, and then you will go and activate everybody. So again, that's kind of further incentive to take out some of these henchmen, because the sooner you get them out of the way, the less you're gonna get hit every time one of these goes into effect. And most of Mystique's, most villain cards have this. So you don't want to get screwed. So you're gonna try and get rid of those. All right, after we move, we go to the BAM effect. Mystique's BAM effect says we deal 2 damage to 1 hero in that location. Clearly there are no X-Men here, so we're good to go. Oh, by the way, if you see the X-Men here, you will see that Jean Grey, there is no Jean Grey mini yet in the prototype, but I have put Captain Marvel because yes, it's me. You knew I was gonna do that. Available on the first Marvel United set. So we move to the next BAM effect. That is Toad. Toad moves to, if possible, to the next location that has no threat. We just started this, everybody has threat, so we don't do anything and we don't even activate his next thing. All right, we then move to Avalanche. Avalanche is gonna be a little more tricky. We discard 1 civilian from this and each adjacent location. So 1 civilian goes bye-bye. We then take this one, it goes bye-bye. And then the adjacent one would be this, and that also goes bye-bye. Now, the thing about that is, it doesn't really hurt us in the short term, but it does hurt us in the long term, because that means there's less of these guys right now on the board to save and to do that mission. So things like that will happen where it kind of dictates what you're gonna do. You might now have to defeat thugs and clear a threat, as opposed to doing that one if you plan to do that from the outset. So it's just something to keep an eye on. We then deal 1 damage to 1 hero in each of these locations that had no civilians. Again, this one says had, keyword there. So all of these had civilians. So that actually doesn't activate. Now, next turn, this one's clear, right? So if he activates again, and there's still characters here, then someone in this spot would get 1 damage, just to kind of give you an idea. All right, last but not least is Pyro. Deal damage to 1 hero in this and each adjacent location. Again, nobody in that one, nobody in that one. So yay, we kind of lucked out on that one. That was actually pretty easy. All right, third spot, third step, we're gonna actually go here and you'll see these are the villain location, which is the center one. That is where Mystique is now. And then the 2 adjacent locations. Whatever token is represented on here, or number of tokens, that is what you put on those squares for this third step. So in this case, it's all civilians, which is actually kind of good, right? Because we lost a bunch of civilians adjacent to the heroes. This is adjacent to her. And in that case, there haven't been any civilians lost except for right here. So, you know, it's kind of, you gotta balance it. Also, depending on how many are put on here, you'll see these blank spots. These can be anything. So you can put civilians here, henchmen. There are a few that are clearly marked, and that's what they start out as. But after some are removed and stuff, you just fill these slots with whatever. The thing is, if there's ever a spot where you don't have any slots available, then an overflow effect is triggered. And as you see here, that can kind of mess you over. And in Mystique's case, it actually, again, brings Senator Kelly closer to her. So you're also kind of keeping an eye on these, because if these are ever full, you might want to divert someone to that location, defeat a couple henchmen, save some civilians to clear that space, so that way you don't get hit with an overflow effect on the next villain's turn. So something to keep in mind. Also, this little bitty effect right here only triggers if the threat card on that location has that same symbol. So in this case, as you can see, Mystique is on this, the threat card does not have that symbol, we don't even look at it. If Mystique were on this one with Destiny, you can see that symbol's there, then you trigger that automatically. So something to keep in mind. In this case, we go ahead and get some civilians. This is an all civilian thing. So 1, 2, and you see already this slot is full. You can see it, that slot is full. We then put 1 here, and we then put 1 there. He's adjacent. All right. Villain is done. That is the villain's turn. Not too shabby, not too bad. So let's go ahead and kickstart the heroes. Now anybody can go. It's kind of up to you. So we're going to actually do some of let's start with Wolverine. Why don't we start with Wolvie? Now, 3 of our characters are going to go before the next Mystique turn. Okay, so let's do Wolverine. We drew 3 cards here. And by the way, and here's a perfect example. So this card actually, you can see, has that little starting thing on it as compared to this one, which does not. That one is just typically like a very character specific ability that they want you to have from the get-go. In Wolverine's case, it is Healing Factor, right? Makes sense. So we're going to, and I'm going to put them out here for you so you can kind of see, just so you can get an idea. So you'll see these little symbols at the bottom. These are going to dictate what you can do that turn. Now, the first player doesn't get the benefit of one of the coolest aspects of the game, and we'll go into that later. But essentially, the first player just kind of has to make a choice for them. In this case, Healing Factor, actually, as long as the card is face up in the storyline, if you have less than 3 cards in hand at the end of a villain turn, you may draw 1 card. Now, that is that's a perfect card to start with, just because it benefits you long term. So let's go ahead and do that. Only bummer is that, and see here, you see what we're doing. And let's actually move this a little bit this way. Give us more space. All right. So your health is dictated by the amount of cards in your hand. So right now, I have 2 health because I have played that. Okay. I had 3 health. You can have as many cards in your hand. Like, there's no limit. There's no hard limit. So I can have 4, I can have 5, depending on, what I do on my turn, which, by the way, I was supposed to draw a card. So let's redo that, because I'm supposed to draw a card. I'm supposed to draw a card. Yes. Okay, let's do it. Let's do that again, shall we? All right, so let's go with the heroes. You can do, essentially, for every villain card, we're gonna have 3 hero turns. And then we're gonna have another villain until, again, the game changes a little bit later on. So let's go ahead and start with Wolverine. You start with a hand of 3. And as you'll notice, I'm trying to get them formed here. As you'll notice, some cards will have starting hand on them, others will not. That starting hand one is typically just a very character specific ability. In Wolverine's case, it is actually Healing Factor, which is pretty cool because this is a very long-term, this gives a long-term benefit. Essentially, Healing Factor, as long as this card is face up in the storyline, if you have less than 3 cards in the hand at the end of a villain turn, you may draw 1 card. It essentially keeps you at 4 health, which is pretty sick, actually. That's kind of awesome. And what's great is it's at the end of a villain turn. It's not even at the end of your turn, it's just at the end of a villain turn. So it's a nice boost. So at the beginning of every turn, you draw 1 card. Key thing to note, your health is tied to your hand. So right now I have 4 health, okay? That is how, if all of that gets wiped out, my hero is KO'd. They can come back into the game. They would draw up to 4 on the next turn. But again, this is tied to their health. So we're gonna actually go ahead and start, because it's a benefit. It doesn't give us that much to do right at the beginning, but it is a long-term benefit. It's a good play. So you'll see here, and I'll put them out here so you can see. You'll see all these little symbols at the bottom of these cards. These are what you can do. Okay, the first player actually doesn't get the benefit of one of the coolest aspects of the game, but essentially, first player gets to pick just based on you. These are wild, this is move, this is a heroic action, which we'll get into later on, and this is an attack, okay? In this case, we're gonna do heroic action. Now, these moves dictate, these actions dictate what you can do. So like, I can't move because I didn't play a move action. Okay, I can only do this, so I can do a heroic action. Luckily, the spot I'm in has this card, which dictates that, like, to clear this threat, I need to have 3 heroic actions. Well, now I've got 1, right? So you go ahead and you put that little counter on there, and there's 1 done. That's great because, again, one of the first missions is probably the easiest to get, which is clear threats. That one is gonna clear a little bit for you where you can, this is gonna change the way the villain plays later. But again, you're trying to get 2 out of the way so you can actually attack the villain head on. It's a good one to get off the bat. So go ahead, that's Wolverine. Now, here's where it gets fun. We're gonna do, let's go ahead and do Jean Grey. Jean Grey. Now we draw a card here. In my deck right now, Jean Grey does not have a starting hand ability, okay? But one of the cool things here is Major Telekinesis, which you go ahead and have an heroic action and attack split as you like in your and adjacent locations. Now, what's great about this, and I'll put these out here for you, you also have telepathy. All right, so you'll notice certain cards have your actions at the bottom, which Jean Grey already seems very heroic action heavy in her deck. But you also have special abilities. Now, the healing factor was a special ability. And the thing I'm about to do, that's where that's going to come into play. So, telepathy, what's this do? Swap the previous hero card in the storyline with any other hero card in the storyline. That's great for later when you have more options to work with. For now, we'll skip it. This one is probably the one we're going to do. Now, I have a choice to make. I could either do this, which gives me a heroic action and an attack split as you like on your and adjacent locations. Okay, that means I could attack here, get rid of a henchman, or attack the threat and get rid of a health here. I could also do that over there, and then also use a heroic action to fill this to the 3, right? Because it needs 3, I would already have 2. I could do that, and then also move, because that is separate, all right? So then it would actually allow me to get off this space. I could also just do 2 heroic actions, complete this, and get rid of the threat completely. Granted, I don't get to move and do things like that, but those are my options. However, that's where you have to factor in the coolest part of this game, which is how you work cooperatively, all right? So aside from the first player, kind of doesn't get the benefit of this, players after this also get to use the card before theirs, all right? So in this case, I get to use Wolverine's heroic action, and this applies as you go forward. Even if a villain card is splitting you, you use the hero card that was previous as your ability pool, all right? So in this case, I already have a heroic action from Wolverine. So it'd probably be wise to use this one because I get to not only move and then also split. So I have these 2, but then I get his. So I can complete this for 3 heroic actions and attack and move. Again, that is what you're trying to do. You're trying to build off of your team, and that's going to be my choice. Now, what's great is, again, this is also where teamwork comes into play, and you guys have to kind of communicate because let's say, and this, again, this is the very beginning of the game, so it's not as, it's not as complicated right now. But later on, let's say someone really needs to get off a space. Well, they might go, hey, can whoever goes next lay something that has a move on it so that I can get off this space? Because like I have no moves in my hand, you know, or they might have just been like, they might have used a lot of their move cards or whatever, right? So that is going to be something that you kind of want to communicate and go, hey, how do we lay this out so that we can be the most effective? That is something that kind of pushes that, all right? So in this case, we're going to do both. So I need 2 heroic action tokens. Use Wolverines. Bada boom. I'm gonna say it, bada bing. There you go. All right, that is complete. We'll get to that in a minute. And then I'm going to attack. So I can either attack Avalanche, I can attack Toad, or I can attack a henchman. Now, and also I can move, and I can do these in any order. Doesn't matter what order. So if there was in this case, there's not really one near me, but let's say that I was close to this space. I would then probably want to get on this space and attack a henchman just to clear some of that space up so that it's not overflowed. In this case, there's not really a way for me to get over there. So I'm going to do the next best thing. I'm going to try and take Avalanche on. Now, I could also, yeah, let's do that. So, Captain Marvel here because that is Jean Grey. We're gonna move, and we're going to attack. Now, these are the health, obviously these little counters right here. We remove 1 health, there you go. That is 1 towards Avalanche, and to get rid of him because he has that really annoying ability where he takes civilians off the board. And then he can attack you. That's annoying. We want to get rid of that. That also helped put us in the space we were in now. So that's Jean Grey. Now we go ahead and we do another one, right? So let's do my man. No, let's do Storm. Let's do Storm. All right, we're gonna draw Storm here. We draw our card. Also, I love the artwork on this game. The artwork rocks. It's so good. All right, a lot of moves here available for Storm. We also have the Goddess of Weather, which relocate any heroes to different locations. This is awesome. That one might be worth it just to do now, just because that is great. So, okay, we have an option to make. Or sorry, we have an option to make. We have a choice to make. So we could either, oh, I never resolved this. Bad me. All right, let's get rid of this. So clear this off. This removes from the game. Then we take the threat token and we put 1 on the mission there. Ta-da! Then what's great is each of these locations has an end of turn benefit, but it is again covered by the villains and the threat. In this case, you may move to any other location at the end of your turn. Now, that is if I ended my turn in that spot. Jean Grey did not, we moved, so I don't get the benefit of it. If I was on that spot though, I would. And also, again, Storm is now there. If she didn't have something that moved her, that would be great. In her case, I'm actually going to do, now also, key to note, remember I mentioned the special abilities. I do not get access to those as the next character. Okay, those are character specific. So like Jean Grey has access to that on this card. Wolverine has access to that on this card. Storm does not. So I don't get that extra heroic action and that extra action, or sorry, that attack. I get a move. That's what I get. So that's what I have to play with right now. Now, this one is interesting because it would relocate any heroes to different locations. Now that would mean that I could do a little forward planning and move Cyclops, because his turn would be next. I could move Cyclops to one of these other locations on the other side of the map and help him clear some of these things out that I can't get anybody else over to. If I wait till the end of the turn, I'll be able to move Storm to any location, but then I have to wait for her next turn before she can do anything. So while I'm not crazy about 2 moves in a row, because again, that doesn't really help me in a lot of ways, it would be smart for me to get him on the other side of the board. Now, granted, that also means he's close to Mystique, because again, you know, that's great, but then Mystique's gonna go next turn, so he could get damaged. It's one of those things. You kind of got to risk it. I'm going to risk it. So that is what I'm going to do. I get to relocate any heroes to different locations. Now, any heroes. So that means I could take Cyclops and Storm and move them to a different location. And I am going to do that. I'm going to take a risk, and I'm going to do that here. Yay, us. We're going to take a risk and do that here. Now, I also get my move. I get 2 moves, actually. So to mitigate the damage that, like, it's not both of us that get hit with something, I'm going to move her here. And so Cyclops is going to be the poor soul that is left here, but he's fine. He can handle it. All right, so that's my turn. I've done the 2 moves. I don't. Oh, also, I've done one move, by the way. I have 2 moves available to me. That means I just take a token. If I don't want to use that move right now or it's not beneficial to me, I just pocket it and go ahead and stick it right here. I'll just stick it on top of Storm's card deck. All right, so now the villain moves. It is now the villain's turn because we've done 3 turns. Boom, here we go. All right, now I left Senator Kelly here because I want him next to Wolverine, who's a damage sponge, and 2, I didn't want him anywhere near Mystique. So I left him here. I've now split the team up a little bit. She moves 2 spaces clockwise. 1, 2. Again, we kind of lucked out here because I passed that symbol. Yay, yes. The BAM effects trigger. We go clockwise. He moves somewhere. Toad moves somewhere without threat. Sucky part is now there's a space without threat. So we move here. And his health moves with him, and his threat does too. Boom. All right. So, thing is though, now that place has a location end of turn thing. So hey, it worked out a little bit. Okay. All right. And then let me double check him. First clockwise location with no threat, then deal 1 damage to 1 hero in that place's location. He counts. He could attack him. He's not, because you're going to take all the damage for him. So Wolverine loses 1 health. All right. Now, I can actually pick here. I'm going to pick one. We'll go with this one. When you get damaged, you just put the card on the bottom of your deck. Okay, so it's just about being out of your hand. So now I only have 2 health left for Wolverine. All right, until my next turn with him, which I then draw another card, right? And then when my healing factor pops open, which actually it will here, because as you notice, as long as this card is active in the storyline, face up, that means if you have less than 3 cards in your hand at the end of a villain's turn, you get to draw 1 card. So actually at the end of this turn, as long as I survive, I get to go back up to 3. Fantastic. So that's Toad's BAM. We then do Avalanche's BAM, which sucks because we discard 1 civilian from this. So there goes that. And each adjacent location, now remember, this one doesn't have any anymore. Key to note. And then 1 from here. And then we deal 1 damage to the hero in the space that didn't have any. It's Wolverine. So you can see if those BAM effects can screw you. Actually, let me do this one instead. All right. Whew, this is getting a little rough here. It's getting a little rough. All right. So there's Wolverine. Next BAM effect is Pyro. Deal 1 damage to 1 hero in the space in each adjacent location. All right. Storm is here. She's going to take a damage. All right. Let's do this. Let's pick one. Let's pick a move because I don't need a move. I'm good. All right. And then adjacent would be Jean Grey. Let's do heroic action. Again, just making these choices based on the cards I have. All right. Everybody's down to 2 because he is a jerk. Okay. Because Pyro's a jerk. Oh, Cyclops takes 1 too. Psych. All right. Oh, but hey, at least I had 1 duplicate. So let's get rid of that one. And the good news about Cyclops is I get to draw another card at the beginning of the turn. So, whatever. It's fine. Okay. There's Pyro. We don't activate that symbol, even though it's here, because again, Mystique is not on that symbol. It's not on her spot. Now this one has Henchman for our 3rd step. So we do 4 in total. All right. We're going to put 2 on her spot. And again, as you can see, filled up another spot here. So again, something to keep note of. Henchman. And Henchman. Boom. And another one. So you see, we've already got 3. Just in 1 turn, we've got 3 filled up. Again, I'm glad I moved someone over here. All right. That's the villain's turn. Again, we don't trigger any overflow effects because nothing has overflowed yet. So we'll go from there. Now it's Cyclops' turn. So we draw one card here. All right, Cyclops has, oh, this is great. So I have an Optic Blast and I have a Leadership. So an Optic Blast, let me put these out here. Optic Blast is a wide-ranging Optic Blast. So you get to do an attack in both adjacent locations, okay? So this attack hits, which is nice. This is awesome. Then we have Leadership, which is give one wild token from the pool to another hero. That's awesome, because that doesn't even hurt you. It just gives it to the pool. Now, again, this is only a move, though. Cyclops needs to do some damage, so we're going to do this, because that's the whole point of him being there, was to do this. Right? Attack in both adjacent locations. Awesome. That's an Optic Blast ability, and then he also gets that, right? So, awesome. This is only adjacent, though. So notice, it says in both adjacent locations. It's not all three, it's just adjacent. But he has this as well, okay? So let's go here. Cyclops is gonna be right there. So for my adjacent locations, I'm gonna get rid of this guy. I'm gonna get rid of this guy. Each, by the way, I don't know if I went over that, each henchman is 1 damage. That's it. So you attack them once, they're done. The outies. So we start to put these on the board. And that just from that one ability. Awesome. And then we do an attack. And we're gonna attack this guy. So now I freed up that slot. So pretty beneficial. We also have a move. I'm going to move. Well, I'm actually going to move a little closer. So I'm going to move towards Magneto. So that way I can get here again, hoping that I have some more attacks to clear out that as well. Okay, that's Cyclops. Now we move back to the top of the order. And as you see here, this starts to grow and it just continues to grow, okay? Oh, by the way, end of turn there, end of that villain's turn. I got to draw one. And now it's Wolverine's turn. And now I get to draw my other. And so I'm back up to 3, right? It's handy. Now I also need to start trying to figure out what the best plan of attack is for Senator Kelly, because he needs to move with me. I need to get him out of this because I already have Mystique coming. I have a bunch of henchmen around me. It's not the best scenario. All right, so Wolverine here. We have a couple of options. We could either do 2 wilds and move him, which is probably the smart option to get him out of dodge, so that way he's not surrounded by all these henchmen, and Mystique is coming up here. We could also just outright attack a bunch of people, and we also have a 4th attack. So like, I could just stay there, try and dish out as much damage as I can to Toad, and remove him from the board. We're gonna do the safe thing. We're gonna move, or we're gonna have 2 wilds here, which I'm going to, spoiler, I'm going to use to move. So, and then I have the attack right here. So we're gonna take Robert with us. 1, 2. I am now in this spot. I now have Senator Kelly. I now have Storm. And then I'm gonna use my 1 attack to hit Pyro. And that's Wolverine. Next, let's do Jean Grey. Not the flashiest thing, but sometimes you gotta know when to retreat. All right, so that is Marvel United X-Men. I hope you enjoyed that, kind of walking through some of the new mechanics, some of the new gameplay, and some of these sweet characters. You can check out all of our coverage on the game on comicbook.com. It is on Kickstarter right now for a little bit longer, so if this did sway you, you can head right there to back it. If it did not sway you, seriously, what else do I have to do? Also, fingers crossed, because at this point in time, Maggot has not been added to the game, but I believe Puck did. And if Puck can get added to this game, I don't literally know how Maggot cannot. So, United for Maggot. Start that hashtag. We got to make this happen. It's got to happen. We have a little more time. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed that. Of course, you can check out all of our coverage on the game right here on comicbook.com. And of course, if you want to hit me up for anything tabletop related, and especially if it's comic book based, you can hit me up at Matt Aguilar CB on Twitter. So until next time, peace.